Dealing with uncertainty. It's a word that seems to just define our times right now. And we wake up to rapid changes in the world all around us. One day there's a new government policy shaking up the economy. The next day it's a viral trend changing how we communicate. Just think back to 2017, the last time we had this administration. Every tweet seemed to shake up the stock market, shake up the world. Look, let's be honest, even outside of politics, uncertainty is just something that's always been a part of life. We all face it in our lives. The uncertain job markets, the evolving economy, different technology disrupting things like AI, right? Social change. Things are always changing how we view things socially, right? Maybe even questions like, will my degree land me a good job? Should I move to a new city? What if things don't work out as planned? Look, the world changes by the minute, and dealing with uncertainty is the new normal, and it can be stressful. We crave stability, predictability, yet so much of that is out of our control. So how do we navigate this storm of unpredictability without losing our minds and our sense of purpose? Today, I want to explore that question by turning to some perhaps unexpected sources of wisdom: the Hermetic principle, natural law, and Stoic philosophy. Now, those might seem a little intimidating to some, but don't worry. We're going to break them down in a way that's totally relatable to our own modern experience. And by the end of this talk, you'll have some practical tools and practical perspectives and fresh perspectives for dealing with uncertainty in your own life, drawn from ideas that have stood the test of time. So you might be thinking, like, why should I use ancient wisdom for modern things? How can advice from people that lived centuries ago or a millennia ago help me with today's problems? That's a fair question. Here's why. Despite all of our modern technology and AI and iPhones and Zoom calls, the fact that we can trade cryptocurrencies or communicate instantly, we do need to understand that the human condition hasn't really changed that much. We still experience fear, hope, anxiety, and excitement. The same emotions people felt in the past. And those people in the past also lived through some pretty crazy times. Plagues, political upheaval, crazy religious doctrines, you name it. And they developed these philosophies to handle uncertainty and change. And some of that advice is shockingly relevant today. I'm going to set the stage a little bit. We're going to draw from 3 different resources: Stoic wisdom, ideas from Stoic philosophers such as Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, who are like the master of staying calm and rational amidst chaos. These guys were great at that. Then we're going to go into the Hermetic principles, ancient teachings about the fundamental, like, just laws of the universe, as above and so below. These are more like metaphysical, but don't worry, we'll make them practical. Then we have natural law, and it's the concept around that the universe is more like a moral entity, and there's these cosmic like laws that we all have to, not have to, but are kind of bound by in a way, even when our external environment is unpredictable. That's why I like that one in particular. That's my favorite set of understandings, to be honest. Natural law. Now, this seems like a lot, but stick with me. We're going to unpack each one of these and see how they can give us some concrete guidance. Think of it like assembling a toolkit. Each philosophy gives us a tool or two to handle the unknown. And who doesn't want a solid toolkit for life? And before we dive in, one quick note. We aren't going to get lost in theory or debate or theology. The goal is to translate these principles into actionable advice. I want you to be able to walk away with ideas you can actually use the next time you're feeling anxious about the future or dealing with some sudden change. So let's dive into the first part of our toolkit, Stoic wisdom. So the first lesson in Stoic wisdom talks about focusing on what you can control. That really comes into play here. So imagine this, you're refreshing your social media, you see one upsetting news headline after another, your heart rate goes up, you start worrying about things halfway across the world or decisions made in boardrooms far away outside of your city, somewhere in New York or Delaware. So what we're going to do is focus on what you can control and let go of what you can't. So you want to divide your life into two buckets. Things you can control and things you can't. Sounds simple, but let's break that down. Bucket 1, things you can control, your own thoughts, actions, attitudes, responses, basically your inner world, choices you personally make. In bucket 2, things you can't control is pretty much everything else. So other people's actions, the weather, the economy, random events, Donald Trump, the past, and so on, the outside world, essentially. So peace of mind actually comes from focusing on bucket 1, or I think bucket 1 was over here, and practicing acceptance of bucket 2. They phrase it like this. I think this is close to a direct quote as I could get from 2,000 years ago. We are disturbed by things. Sorry, scratch that. We are disturbed not by things, but by the views we take of things. In other words, it's not the event itself that upsets us. It's how we interpret or respond to that event. You might not control the event, but you absolutely control your interpretation. Now, think about a real world example. Say you lose your job unexpectedly because your company is downsizing or trying to become more efficient. Pretty relevant fear in a very uncertain economy. Now, losing your job is largely out of your control in that circumstance. It's bucket 2. It happened. But what is in your control is what you do next. It's what you do next. You can interpret it as the end of the world, spend weeks, depressed and just like under the covers, right? Which is an understandable reaction, even though it's just not that helpful, but it's understandable. Or you could see it as an opportunity to pivot into something new, maybe even learn a new skill, pursue a different, a different career path that you hadn't even considered before. Same event, 2 different responses. One leads to stagnation, the other moves you forward. Okay, what am I saying? I'm saying you need to focus on your mind. Focus on your response. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Okay, that was the unceremonious end to part 1. My camera died, so we'll stop there. That'll just be part 1, and then I'll pick up from where I left off, and that'll be part 2. Or we might have more parts than that, but stay tuned. We have more videos on the way.